Namaste. Welcome to, is it Thursday? So hard to tell, isn't it, right now? Sorry for being a few minutes late. As I'm sure some of you are aware, I'm in transition today between one version of my website to another, and we were hoping to have everything ready for tonight, but it's not quite there. So I'm sorry if some of you had to be rerouted slightly, all in the pursuit of the greater good. So welcome to my sound space. My name's Jane, if I don't know you, and I know there's a few of you new this evening. So great to see you all, know you're all there, and to feel your energy, because that's really what these sessions and all spiritual work, all well-being work is really all about, is energy. So first of all, thank you again for your patience. I know lots of you are having difficulties with ticketing and the website in the last week or two. By way of explanation, my site wasn't originally built like most people's to cope with live streaming and the type of events I'm now working on holding. So I've been trying, with the help of my wonderful web developer, to upgrade and change things around without taking the website offline fully. But that seems to cause way more grief than it actually solved in the end, as I was trying to do things behind the scenes while you guys were still trying to use it. So I'm really sorry if that's been tricky. In the end, I decided I had to take a few days off, both technology-wise and personally, just so I could concentrate and reorganise everything without having to deal with a continuous flood of emails and messages. And as I'm sure everyone's experiencing in this new world order, I'm just overwhelmed. I've got too many platforms, too many different ways to communicate, and they all are going all the time. Obviously with my family, my friends, my personal people, and then you guys and all of my work people, and it just got overwhelming. So I'm really sorry if I didn't manage to get back to everybody this week. I am hopefully, once we get this all online, going to be catching up with emails and getting out of this kind of perfect storm of digital chaos. So we're nearly there. I'm hoping by the weekend we are going to have this all 100% up and running. But in the meantime, I know that because I use YouTube as my encoding platform, we do always have this to go to if the main site is not quite working. So hopefully that will be sorted. But that's my technical explanation. So in the course of doing that, I'm hoping that most people have managed to jump on and join us. I've just been over chatting for a minute because I know a few people were making the journey. So enough, we'll begin. Welcome again. Hi to all of you who've just arrived. Namaste to everyone who's just checked in. Housekeeping first. I opened the room early today to try and allow time to deal with tech issues, and obviously we didn't get a chance to communicate on that platform, so I'm not sure how long some of you were trying to get on, but thank you to those of you who were coming on early. That will be a thing we always do, so that there is a chance to troubleshoot, and hopefully like tonight we end up starting more or less on time, even if there are a few problems. I have this morning actually put a new digital frequently asked questions page on my website, and that was linked in the email I sent you guys this morning. If you haven't had a chance to have a look at that, please do. And also, although I know the horse is probably bolted, please do make sure you read the entirety of those welcome emails. Partly they include things you may want to have to hand with you, and it's nice to have that ready rather than to have to run off when we've already started. But it also gives you as much technical detail as I have. I'm not tech support, I'm not an IT person. I did about 22 years ago do a degree in film, but that was pretty much before digital. We actually learnt to cut film with sellotape and scissors. That's how long ago it was. So much as I have some understanding, I'm really not tech support, and the knowledge I've put on that page is as much as I personally have. I am working to improve that, but that's where we are for now. So please make sure you read the emails in their entirety, and do check that digital facts page. So any questions that have been coming up in these first few weeks have been answered there. As I said to quite a few of you, I have to, for a bit of self-preservation to be honest, have to draw the line with emails and text messages and Facebook messages and everything else that happens in the flurry as we get into these events. Otherwise, as you could see, I'm literally sat here on my phone and leaning into the screen at a time I should be preparing the space and preparing to welcome you guys in. So I don't mean to be at all rude, and I really hope you understand if I wasn't able to respond to you or had to respond with a single line today. Ideally, I'd turn everything off a solid 2 hours before an event so I could be in the space preparing it for you. So fingers crossed the technology gets there. Anyway, let's leave the formalities behind and get into our soundscape this evening. Into the soul seeking and the spiritual stuff, which I know is why I'm here, and I hope is why you guys are also here. As I said, do check the digital facts. If for any reason you get cut off or have any problems with receiving sound tonight or with the picture dropping in and out, I am recording this. It is recording fine at my end, so without pushing it back to you guys, my connection is really stable tonight. I've changed a few things, it's wired in, it's recording cleanly, so I will be able to send you all a link after this, but you'll be able to watch this on YouTube on a private link. So if you get disconnected, please don't despair. I'm doing my very best to make sure you all have what you need. So thank you again for being here. And final bit of admin, anyone that did get stuck in the system or paid twice or anything like that, don't worry, it will all be sorted. I will go through the payments myself after this, or probably tomorrow morning in reality, and rebalance anybody that is for some reason paid more than once. So please don't worry, I've got your back. Okay, so the Taurus new moon was actually early hours this morning. This event was originally yesterday, and I did move it to today, to be honest, mainly to try and deal with the technical stuff. The moon was about 3:30 this morning. And the reason I love to hold these soundscapes on moons is that it's a really auspicious time for energy. It's an amazing time to be aligning with the cosmos. And it's a really great time with the moon, either at its brightest or its darkest, to consider and contemplate the cycles that we go through here on Earth. As above, so below, says every astrologer ever. And that's really the case. The darkness in the sky is an opportunity to go into our shadow space, to get comfortable there, to explore the darkness, explore our own darkness and that around us, which is particularly pertinent at the moment. And a new moon is also really about beginnings. Those of you that know a little bit about lunar activity will know that the cycle runs over about 28 days or a little less, 13 and a half days from new to full. And the new moon is really where we begin, where we plant our seeds, and they grow as the moon grows and grows bigger in the sky, and those seeds come to fruition as we get to fullness, and then they start to wane, and then we go back to the beginning again, and so it goes on. So a new moon is my favourite, because it's a chance to start over, which all of us need all the time pretty much. And that's really a big part of the theme we're going to be working with tonight. So I'm scrunching up my first notes, and we're going to talk just a little bit tonight about the themes of Taurus. So let's start by thinking beginnings, seeds. What's beginning for you at the moment? We're all in this incredibly strange place right now. I noticed actually that by changing the date of this soundscape to the 23rd, my first online soundscape was the 23rd of March here on YouTube a whole month ago, which seems impossible. And big thanks to those of you that were there for that and have persevered ever since with the varying technological connections and changes as we've all got used to things. But the world's changed unbelievably in the last month. I mean, in the last few weeks, but it's been crazy. And before we all get too mired in this newness and what we're in now, I think it's a really great time to think about what starting means for you, what beginning a new phase, whether it's forcibly or through choice, whether it's beginning a new career, a new job, changing your childcare situation, who you live with, your relationships. There's so much newness and so much that's starting and beginning right now. And this is our first new moon since the lockdown began here in the UK. So it's a nice time to think about these themes. For me, lockdown has started in earnest really this week. I think making some decisions about the website and about how we deliver these events has been the kind of beginning of a new phase for me. It's also been my second phase, the beginning of this whole kind of period. I totally went to ground. I don't know about you guys, but I found that I just wanted to hide, to cocoon, to really kind of go into this self-preservation phase and just process. I had a lot of other stuff going on personally as well, as lots of us do all the time, and I felt that the whole arrival of this new phase for us was really about just going inwards, closing off, not talking to anyone really, spending a lot of time with my cats and here in this room. And it's kind of been going in that way. going to ground for a few weeks. And now this new moon for me is an opportunity to kind of start new projects, to get back out there, to get a few things fired up and ignited and motivated again, in a way that they haven't been for the last month. So let's start by just taking a moment to gather whatever you've brought into your space. I'm just waiting for a few more people to come in, and we're just going to begin looking at the rituals around the moon in just a few moments. So taking a moment, if you're happy where you are, to close your eyes and maybe engage in some conscious breathing. That's an inhale through your nose to the count of 4, holding your breath for a count of 4, and exhaling through the mouth to a count of 8. So 4, 4, 8. And conscious breathing is an amazing thing to come to at any time if you're feeling anxious or stressed out, overwhelmed. I've been using it such a lot the last few weeks. It's a way of really reconnecting to your respiratory system and to your immune system, actually, which is also, I think, beneficial for our neurological messaging. And just allowing your heart rate to come down, your blood pressure to come down, and your conscious mind to connect with your physical being. And in fact, the opposite of what we're asking it to do in sound, but it's a really good place to start your journey. So Taurian energy, Taurus, the sign we're now in, we actually moved sunwise into it a few days ago on the 19th. Taurus is an earth element. It's, as any Taurians among you will know, is renowned for being pretty stubborn, very grounded, reliable, dependable. These are all kind of nice, stable words. Reliability, substance, no nonsense. And this energy is therefore very earthy, very grounding, very practical, very logical, very much about getting things done, whether practically pushing forward or maybe just in your inner self planting a few seeds, connecting with that proximity to earth that we have at this time. However, Taurus and the Taurian vibe is also associated with quite a lot of blockage, particularly blockage in the spiritual area, in the area of the third eye. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just a balance that we need to be aware of at this time, that our propensity is for everything to be drawn downwards to earthy, practical, material kind of energy, and for our kind of maybe more esoteric, intuitive self to completely get separated and pulled away. And I think lots of us, and I know myself and a lot of people in my world have been in that place lately where we've got really focused on stuff and money. Oh my God, I can't go to that place. I can't get my regular coffee. I can't get paid. How am I going to live? What about the council tax bill? How am I ever going to get into that self-employed scheme? And I know lots of people who've been really struggling with accessing a lot of the schemes the government has been providing us and getting really tangled up in the material values of life. And abundance has been a thing to do with cash and stuff and the having of those things. And these kind of blockages in our energy in our 5th chakra and our 6th chakra, particularly the third eye, are very much to do with this kind of frame of abundance, this maybe kind of disorientation of what abundance really is. And we tend to think of it as being very tangible. I'm abundant because I have a house with a garden. I mean, that's really valuable right now, we know that. I'm abundant because I have a car or 2 cars, or I have that holiday that I now can't go on. But we tend not to think of abundance as being framed in a way that's a little bit more to do with our values and to do with how we feel and what we bring to our life. And that's really what Taurus energy is all about, is finding this balance between this grounded earthy practicality and then this kind of very esoteric, intuitive, spiritual energy that knows there's a lot more than this stuff. So that in mind, it's also worth introducing you to the ritual space tonight, because all of the tools that I use in soundscapes and in rituals are designed to really connect with and amplify the energy of the season. So all the oils, the crystals, the cards that I'm working with now and for the next sort of 2 weeks or so as we move through this Taurus moon phase, the waxing moon, are all to do with connecting with these energies that I've been talking about. So I'm just going to slightly lean in and adjust my camera. Oh, that's not going to work very well. So that you guys can see a little bit more of what's going on. I'm just going to get rid of something else that's popped up that I don't need. Okay, So hopefully, if I come down low, what you can all now see is my little ritual table here, and actually I'm going to move it a little more front and centre for you. Move a few bits out of the way. So hopefully, I know some of you are really into the stuff, into the rocks, the minerals, the cards, and some of you aren't, and that's fine. There's no obligation to really take part in this section of the evening if it's not something that speaks to you. So don't be afraid to go and put the kettle on, or hang out with your family for a moment, or just mute down a little bit if you're not so sure about these aspects. But I would say one of the reasons I work in this way and I work with these tools is they really help me to access maybe some parts of the cosmos and some parts of the kind of the prevailing energy that maybe don't feel as obvious without these tools. So we'll start at the top. We've got here today our lovely little circle. Those of you that practice with me a lot will know that in the Wiccan kind of esoteric and eclectic witch tradition, it's really important to cast a circle. And the theory behind this is that you're creating a boundary through which your energy and your intention can't escape. Your vibration is staying within this circle. So you want an unending, unbroken circle. You've also seen sometimes I do it with gaps in it, and I find that practically as long as you have a circle shape, it's fine. So today I've used rhodonite for my circle, and this is a really interesting rock, and it is very much a rock rather than a crystal. I don't really love the word crystal, it's too sparkly. But you might be able to just see this rhodonite is in some cases like almost like slate, and in some cases really pink. So rhodonite's a rock, a fossil, a mineral that really embodies Taurian energy. It's very earthy, very grounded, but it has this quite kind of sensual, spiritual aspect to it that maybe just isn't the first thing people see about it. So rhodonite is something I'll be using lots of this season, and I urge you guys to do the same. I'm also working with a load of blue kyanite tonight. So blue kyanite comes in these little shards, or wands, we usually call them. And therefore it's quite hard to get a full rock in them. They always come in little packets where you have quite a few of them together, which I really like. So I've used them tonight in one of my little bowls because I quite like having them as a little heap, like a slate pile. So blue kyanite is one of the only rocks or crystals, here's a bigger piece you can see better, that doesn't need cleansing. So you never need to put this in sage, you never need to put it in salt water or out in the moon. You can just keep this one going as long as you want. It's a self-cleansing, self-charging rock, which is really handy to have around actually. It's also amazing for unblocking the third eye, which is one of the reasons it's great for this energy. And combined with this kind of earthiness of the rhodonite, together they show these two sides of the Taurian vibe. We're also working with rose quartz, really beautiful harmonizing rock, one of my favorites that I use as often as I can. And also with some greeny blue stones. So the Taurian vibe in terms of your chakra, your energy body, your pranic body, and those of you that practice yoga will be more familiar with the chakras, is really somewhere between here and here. So your heart chakra is traditionally pinks and greens, so I always work with rose quartz for heart chakra, and also a green aventurine, which is a stone of opportunity. It's a really beautiful stone and one that's been really present for me lately. The throat chakra, Vishuddha, is traditionally blue. So as well as the blue kyanite, I'm also working with a blue tourmaline and lapis. And blue calcite is also really good for this, or a blue jasper. So blockages in this area usually indicate a communication issue, or communicating differently, or struggling with self-expression. And it's nice to balance that with the heart chakra. You know, I think I've been feeling, as a lot of people have, and particularly with a lot of the technical difficulties, a lot of fear and frustration and competition when you see other people just going online and it all works perfectly first time. I think we've all seen the way we communicate with each other change. There was a great piece today, I think it was in The Guardian, about how draining Zoom is and why video calls are so exhausting, which I recommend to anyone. Other newspapers are available. But it's really interesting how our changes in communication are actually, for some of us, blocking us up more than we're used to. We feel overwhelmed and anxious by this over-communication in a way that we're not used to. So these blue stones live really in this area. If you're going to practice with one tonight, it's quite nice to hold it over your throat while you're meditating. So maybe in some of the earlier work that might be comfortable for you. So pinks, greens and blues make a lot of sense at this time. And this is also partly because of the kind of proximity with Taurus and the throat. Taurus is a sign, as a zodiac sign, rules over the throat, the larynx, around this whole area. So it's really nice as you prepare your space this evening just to have a think about this kind of global shift in communication and structure and what that means for you, how your communication has changed, if you feel like you're being more heard or less heard, or heard through a very stuttery internet connection. And just maybe take a few notes on that, or close your eyes and absorb how you're feeling about that. Are you feeling under pressure from communication? Are you feeling good about it? And just take note of where you're at and how that feels. It's to take in, I know, it's why I always say bring a journal. So the last couple of things to show you on my little table down here are my oils. So I've got another one of my lovely little bowls here with a few oils in. So I love to work with oils in sound. Obviously in sound we're working enormously with our hearing as a sense, and we're working a lot with physical senses as well, but we're really working as well with scent. Your sense of smell is the first smell you get, or the first sense you get rather, when you're born, and it's the last one that leaves your body when you die. And our kind of sense of life is innately connected to our sense of smell. So I choose oils for every session, and tonight I've chosen a few which really blend this kind of woody, grounded Taurian energy with the more sensual kind of Venus ruled energy as well. So what I've got in here is cedarwood and sage, representing that kind of grounded vibe. I've got yang yang, which is extremely rich, floral, kind of jasmine-y, but much more powerful, very overwhelming, usually from Indonesia, which is a very sensual fragrance. And then I've also put some eucalyptus in here, because eucalyptus is an amazing oil, an amazing herb for the throat, and it's really concentrated around unblocking the throat chakra. So this is a little blend, and the way I like to use this is just before getting into the sound, to take a little across my pulse points, maybe down the area we're working on, so today around the throat, under the jaw. Just take a few moments to take a few deep breaths in to really notice the sense, if you're working with them, coming into your body, into your mind, into your awareness and your physical space. And I find these great to help clear out whatever else in terms of sense. Maybe you've got cooking going on next door or downstairs and you've got other scents coming into your space. I find this is really helpful to ground you into where you are for your travel and for your sound journey. And then again at the other end, it's really useful to bring you back if you've been somewhere quite far. Those of you that practice with me in person will know that I often come round with something quite strong, usually involving eucalyptus and maybe peppermint, almost like a smelling salt, to help redraw you back into your body. So keep it to hand, and you may want to use it afterwards as well. So I'm just going to pop my screen back so you can see the sound a bit better. There you go. All right, guys. So the last little things I need to show you in my my little ritual table here are the cards, which again, people often get very freaked out by the idea of tarot and Mystic Meg and fortune telling, and I'm always happy to get to share with people that that's not really what this is about, and that really for me cards are just an amazing jumping off point to investigate and explore inwardly the current energy, to explore different themes going on for yourself, for the planet, for the environment over the course of a year. The cards, the tarot traditionally in most oracles are specifically drawn to sit alongside the astrological cycle, and that just gives you an opportunity to work through different aspects of your life, like your career, your home, your family, your self-esteem, your self-expression. So over the course of a year, you've spent time in each of these core houses. So each zodiac sign is represented by cards in the tarot, and I wanted to share with you what they are. So the Hierophant, which is quite a curious card for the Major Arcana, is the card that represents Taurus. So today I'm working with the classic Rider-Waite Tarot, which is the original tarot. I have loads of decks and lots of beautiful and contemporary and interesting ones, but this is the first, Daddy. It felt right today. I don't really use this one that much, actually. So the Hierophant is a priest on the card, which is probably one of the reasons I don't like it that much. And it's a really interesting card. The translation of it in the traditional Italian tarot is that it's the card that kind of binds as the intermediary between heaven and earth. And you see the keys at the bottom, which are in theory the keys, one of heaven and one of earth. Lots of people, including me, interpret this card as this intermediary, a way to connect your material, grounded self with your spiritual side. So in that sense, it's the perfect card for Taurus, this grounded, sort of stable, reliant, dependable vibe, blended with this kind of quite sensual, spiritual energy that's just a bit blocked and not allowed to break through. So that's the Hierophant. So I mentioned a minute ago Venus. So every sign is also ruled by a planet. Taurus is ruled by Venus, which barely needs an introduction. The planet of love, of romance, of beauty, very feminine. And the Venus card is the Empress, which is all of those things. She is very much about earthly pleasure, sensuality, satisfaction and abundance. And in the traditional card, you may not be able to see, she's represented by an empress, by a queen sat in beautiful voluptuous robes, printed with flowers, flowing silk, and she's holding her little staff. She's got a beautiful crown. She's sat on a velvet bed with a heart on it. She's living her best life, it's fair to say. So again, this energy, Empress energy, is something we want to invite in when we're thinking about what abundance means to us. Is it just stuff and that kind of beauty and art and frivolity in some ways? The having of the things, or are we getting abundance and the having of joy and love in our life from somewhere else? So I think in these times of uncertainty, it's really nice to be spending time thinking about these kind of values, these kind of ideas and ideologies and ancient teachings that all have so much value for us. And I really like working with these cards. I think having set this little ritual table up today, they make a lot of sense to me, this duality, this light and dark that I feel are experiencing all the time on Earth, but at the moment the current situation is giving us this in hi-fi. And this is really reflected in the final thing I want to share with you in the ritual part of this session before we get into the meditation and the sound. And that's what's going on with the planets. The new moon, the dark moon, is really, as I mentioned at the top of this session, all about the shadows, about finding safety in darkness. You know, we all know, I certainly feel so exposed, sat here in such a lot of light in my gong room with a light in front of me and light coming through the window, wearing light clothes, surrounded by light things. There's nowhere to hide. If I make a mistake, if the technology fails, if I trip up, if I swear accidentally, it's all out there. You guys can all see it. You know, somehow I'd feel a whole lot safer in the darkness, but then I'm definitely a true Scorpio. I like the darkness. And I think the dark moon, as the new moon is often called, is that time of solace, that time of inward looking and inward journeying, where we can really look at our shadows and see what they show us, acknowledge them and find out what's hiding in there. You need light and dark together. Without the dark, there is no light. Without the light, there is no dark. So this kind of duality, like the Empress and the Hierophant, like the two sides of Taurus, is essential to life. And a big part of the new moon and what's going on right now in the skies is about acknowledging fears and anxieties. And I know lots of the conversations I've been having offline and online with a lot of you guys is around anxiety. I know I'm feeling it too, and that's why I needed to take a few days off this week, because my anxiety and stress, particularly about technology not working, was just blowing my mind and stressing me out so much. And I was beginning to feel really ill-equipped to support you and to support myself and to support the people in my life. So I had to take that pause to have a look at my fears and anxieties and think about what they were and why I was scared of them. And tonight's a really great example. Again, it hasn't really quite gone to plan, but because I've taken time to get comfortable with my fears, I'm not too stressed about it. I know that I'll get this into your hands somehow, some way, and that'll be fine. And if it's not, then we'll work something out. But what I do know is I don't need to get absorbed in the darkness of these fears, because they're unfounded. These fears that somehow I won't be able to work anymore, that what I do will become irrelevant. I've spent time with. And actually in the shadows, I've been able to figure out that this is more important than ever. and that just because it isn't working first time doesn't mean it isn't working at all. And if it helps one person, that's enough. And it's helping me, so that's enough. So I'd like to invite you all, as we begin to move towards our meditation this evening, to have a think about your dark side, your dark moon, what's in the shadows, what fears and anxieties are there for you. And for some of you, this may be less comfortable, and I by no means want to invite you into a place that isn't safe for you. So it's a toe in the water. If you feel equipped and safe exploring this concept a little deeper, then please do. But if not, then just feel free to step back from it and stay comfortable where you are and make sure you know where you're safe. The purpose of sound and meditation is to offer you a safe space for self-inquiry, for self-exploration. And the idea is to give you space and support and tools to help you make those journeys and find something deeper in your intuition than your conscious mind will allow you to see. But if that means going to somewhere that's not so comfortable for you, although usually I'd advise in a live session, sit with that discomfort and go with it. Let it lead you where you need to go. I think at the current environment and the current energy says just take it a little softly. Don't push yourself too hard. What I would suggest you do is that when you delve into your new moon, your dark side, into your shadows, have a go at pulling whatever's in there into the light. It's a lot less scary there. We've all had the cupboard monsters and the scary trolls and demons under our bed as kids. I remember I used to watch Dungeons and Dragons, and I was terrified of bed monsters coming out from under the bed. We were cuddled up in the middle of my bed, and I wouldn't let any body parts get near the edges in case the bed monsters got me. But of course, in the light of day, I could sit down on the floor and look under my bed and discover there was nothing there apart from just a bunch of shoes and stuff that my mum probably was always telling me to put away, and there was no bed monsters, and it was fine. And yet every night I'd be scared of them again. So an easy access way into this light and dark is to think in a childlike way. Think about casting a light on that which scares you. So I promised you a little about the planets before we get going. I know for some of you that's super important. Uranus is the planet that's doing the most cosmic kind of gymnastics right now. Uranus is still quite a new planet, and it's generally associated with the tearing down and crumbling of old ways and the bringing of something new. So I'm finding that this a very active aspect to the Uranus orbit right now is super interesting, because everything is changing. All the old stuff, all the old modes, models, routines, collective ways of thinking, societies, politics, economy, everything that we've built as a country, as a planet, as a civilization is being pretty rapidly torn apart and crumbled. And that's leaving space for something new, which is really exciting. However, we have a lot of Saturn energy, and Saturn, as you can see behind me and on my wrist, is one of my planets, something I'm very related to. I feel the energy very strongly, and Saturn is the planet of kind of karma, of looking back, of trying to hang on to the old stuff, staying in the shadows, not allowing you forward into something new. That's why your Saturn transit's so powerful, because it is a real cycle of karmic release, of letting something go that's really holding on for you. So we have this kind of dichotomy of Uranus trying to crumble stuff down, making space, and Saturn trying to cling on really tightly. And as they pass each other and the other planets in orbit this week, finding that balance somewhere in the middle is really important. And that's the energy we're working with, this balancing energy, the Empress and the Hierophant, heaven and earth, light and dark, yin and yang. That duality that's present in all of life. So I think one of the most important messages that's been coming in for me this week is about the importance of standing in both your light and your dark, not choosing one or the other, but taking aspects of both to make a whole. Likewise, the Taurus energy invites us to look at materialism, stuff, abundance in the traditional sense, grounding practical energy, and then this kind of Venus-inspired having of pleasure, having of things, having of pleasurable experiences in our lives. And yet life is also trying to show us, and the energy is trying to show us, that all of those things can be torn down and a different way of thinking can be put in their place. Maybe pleasure is now about something different. For me, hearing the birds, I've seen that on so many places on Facebook, and I live in Cornwall where the main birds are seagulls. Not always a nice thing to hear, but I've noticed so much how we're just hearing them all the time. And the bees, there's bees everywhere, big giant bees the size of my cat, all over the garden, all over the area. You can hear, I can always hear the sea from my house, but it's like it's in the front room now. There's loads and loads of new ways to think and new paradigms when we think of abundance that are really important right now. And it's something that, although we're all veering wildly and chaotically as we try and get to grips with what this new world means for us, in hi-fi, this happens every moon, we have an opportunity to do this, but right now it's everyone on hi-fi. So overwhelming. It's an invitation to look at reframing our views of abundance, our views of what grounding is and of what spirituality is, and finding somewhere in the light and the dark that perfect shade of grey, which is not usually a thing we'd aspire to, but in this case it's really important. So there endeth the early ritual of the soundscape. I invite you, if you haven't already, just spend a moment with your ritual space. I'll do a little bit of connecting with it once again just before I go into the sound. So we've got our crystals, our rose quartz, blue kyanite, we've got blue tourmaline, blue calcite, lapis, amazonite and green aventurine. And you'll see I've also used here just a little bowl of inspiration from nature, which is always really important to have in your circles, particularly if you're working with any Wiccan aspects. I've got my oils, cedarwood, sage, yang yang and eucalyptus, and I've got my intuitive tarot to help me set my intention for the session and guide it the way I want it to be. So I'd invite you all to spend these couple of moments just while I close down my email, which is persisting in beeping. And just gathering whatever it is you need. If you're not already lying down, now's a good time to lie down. It's also a really good time to grab your headphones if you're still on your speaker. You can carry on listening on speaker if you like. If you have checked out the frequently asked questions page, you will know that speakers are perfectly fine, and there's a bit of detail in there about why I recommend headphones and some that I would recommend if you're in the market. Get yourself cozy. It's quite nice to stay really warm depending on where you are. It's been absolutely glorious in Cornwall today, so if you're lucky like we are and it's quite warm, maybe you don't need too much tonight, but your body will always drop quite a few degrees in meditation, so it's a good idea to stay cozy and have as much as you need to be comfortable nearby you. Have a quick swig of water or tea. Your body will dehydrate as well during the sound, so it's really important to stay nice and hydrated. And as I just get some sage going, which is how I like to prepare my space in terms of cleansing and detoxifying, I'll be using this to clear the gongs, to clear my own space. I did do this, of course, before we started, but it's just nice to do it with you guys as well. I've given my sage a little swoosh. I normally use incense as well, but I did nearly set fire to the gong room last time, so I'm going a little bit more gently and working just with my favourite Californian white sage, and there's just a little bit of Palo Santo in there and some raw frankincense as well. I'm going to use this with intention around my ritual and myself. So intention is the most important thing, the only thing you need to bring to your sound, to your meditation. If you haven't already set an intention, now's a good time to think about what it is you're looking for or aspiring to from your sound journey. If you don't have an intention, or even if you do, maybe just give a little thought to balancing your light and dark, learning to stand in both shades. Thinking a little bit about Taurian energy, if it applies to you in any specific way, whether you feel that you're attached in a certain way to an approach to abundance, to practicality, to security and stability that maybe might be a little unhelpful, if you can reframe that, or maybe your approach, perhaps like mine, is a little too frivolous and needs a little bit of grounding. So the opportunity, the invitation is there for you to adjust the intention to suit your own needs. So while you guys get settled, I'm just going to clear the instruments, clear the gongs. Inviting always the highest and the best energies in support of our journey. Working with the open Reiki channels to support the highest and the best for myself, for you, for those that we all love, for our planet. Particularly at this time, inviting the highest and the best energies to show us the right path in pursuit of the answers that will best benefit the collective. And of course, in these particular times, it's always worth adding a little personal intention for our healthcare workers, for our key workers, our care workers, for all of those people giving that bit extra in the current landscape, and for everything they're doing for us and the people we love. So, as we begin to settle down, lie down, find our way into our meditation today, tracing the sage as it clears your space, as it clears your energy. Shifting back into conscious breathing, inhaling in through the nose to the count of 4. Holding your breath to the count of 4. And exhaling through the lips to the count of 8. Inhaling, holding, and exhaling. As we drop into our meditation this evening, holding in our hearts, in our minds, and in our third eye this concept of a new paradigm of abundance, reframing the having and the not having, the material value and the tangibility of these values. Maybe abundance is simply being able to put your toes in the sand or feeling the air on your skin. The Taurus new moon is a perfect time to find this balance. As you lie down, lie supported by earth, reveling in your connection to Mother Nature. Notice the earth supporting you, holding you, helping you to feel safe. Noticing the quality of the earth. Maybe you're lying outside on the grass, or maybe you're on your bed or a sofa or something soft and warm. Wherever you are, noticing the vibration, the energy of earth. Letting your conscious breathing drop into a deeper rhythm now. Losing the counting, allowing your breath to simply float in and out of the body. As you visualize your body lying in absolute darkness, imagine yourself or visualize yourself surrounded only by velvet black, like a velvety night sky. As you lie and rest, held safely in comfort and peace. Somewhere in the corner of your peripheral vision, imagine a door opening, kind of like that childhood version of you lying in bed, and then there's a crack of light cast along the floor as the door opens and one of your parents opens the door to check on you. The light begins to creep across the floor. Gradually, the door opening wider, and the light finds its way to you, to where you're lying, to your body, and it envelops you in white light, illuminating and bathing you in lightness. Notice how comfortable and safe and held you feel here, just like how you did in the darkness. Notice as the light begins to pass the opposite way from where it came, and And now where that door was cracking open, it's cracking open again, but this time it's a shard of dark. The darkness gently eases across the floor, creating an intimate stillness, a safe place, enveloping you, encasing you. Still, you feel safe and held. And gradually the darkness comes across your body and begins to lighten again. The light crack where the door was once again shows itself, and the light begins to break across the floor, gently showering you with understanding, with clarity, with intuition, with self-belief. And the light shifts into dark. The darkness returns, sensual, warm, compassionate. Express yourself. And again the light. And then the dark. And then the light. Again the dark. Eventually visualize that door, the doorway from where the light and the dark was reaching and finding you. Imagine it being left half open, half light and half dark. And gradually you can let that light and that dark merge with you at the center. Neither light nor dark. A bit of both. Like the symbol yin and yang. The heart of the light is the dark. The heart of the dark is the light. Standing in both the light and the shadow. Feeling comfortable with what both bring you. Drawing the things you bury in the dark out into the light, and maybe putting what you keep in the light into the dark. Seeing what you find out. In this place, you're just like that Hierophant, like that card we shared already. Bridge between heaven and earth, material and spiritual. Staying here. Perhaps you're choosing to hold one of your crystals or refresh yourself with the oils before we drift into our sound this evening. We'll be in the sound for around 45 minutes. You can move around as much as you like. I encourage you to stay with whatever challenges arise for you. Allow them in, feeling the safety of the light or the dark, whichever they are. When we reach the end of the sounds, we'll sit together in silence. And again, I encourage you to stay still and silent. Draw you back from your journey with this drum and my voice. Respecting your journey, whether near or far, taking a few deep breaths, allowing the oxygen to flow back into your lungs, feeling your belly fill and lift, your lungs expand, full of joy and journey and new life and new knowledge. Perhaps allowing your head to drop softly side to side, giving your wrists and ankles a little rotation, a little wiggle. Maybe stretching overhead, giving your spine a big opening, pressing the shoulders and hips into the earth and reconnecting with earth now. Remembering that Taurian-inspired journey we've shared tonight, that rooting and grounding and stability and security, reliability mixed with this kind of evocative, more sensory energy from the third eye, the mix of light and dark, perhaps taking a moment to absorb anything that's come from your shadow journey this evening or your light journey before coming back into your space, gently finding your senses, allowing your fingertips to touch your skin, your eyes to gently open. It's quite nice to rub your hands together, pick up any loose energy and open your eyes into your palms. I always quite like that. Hi, welcome back everyone. So I hope so much you've had a blissful, enlightening, relaxing, restoring journey, whatever it is you intended, whatever you brought to this space this evening. The journey always gives you what you need, so even if it's not what you expect, take care to note down how you feel and what's come to you, any sudden intuitions or messages or sparks of intuition or eureka moments are generally your subconscious mind breaking through the chatter and giving you what you need, so enjoy. Going to take a moment to ground ourselves back down before we depart into what's left of our evening. So this is the part where I always like to come back to my oils and maybe take a little bit of whatever scent, whether it's the essential oils you've prepared or something else, just to connect your pulse points, connect back to Vishuddha, the throat chakra. Take a couple of deep inhales, a nice deep breath, taking the air deep into the lungs. Returning to conscious breathing, 4-4-2, inhaling through the nose to the count of 4. Holding for 4. Exhaling through the lips to the count of 8. One more time, inhaling 4, holding 4, and exhaling 8 through the lips. Finding your way back to a seated position. Just popping my screen so I can see you guys a little better. Hi. So thank you all so much for being here this evening for our Taurus and New Moon Soundscape. I hope you've found something in the journey that speaks to you. For some people, sound is meditation. For some people, it's therapy. For some people it's journeying and out of body and hallucinatory. For most of us it's all of the above, and it just depends where you are on any given day, how the energy is, which is why I love to blend all my ritual work in with the sound, because I can have a really different sound experience depending on all sorts of things, but particularly the lunar and cosmic energy, the prevailing vibrations that I'm in, that we're all in. So hopefully something somewhere found its way into your consciousness and your subconsciousness, and you found some messages or ideas or thoughts or something new that speaks to you. So I've moved the screen so I can see your messages now, and I'm leaning in gently. I am. One of the reasons, apart from the practicalities of not replying to messages once I've started and getting distracted, is that I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't actually see very well. But I will lean into them, and in a moment when we've finished, I will reply to you guys in more detail. A couple of little bits of admin. Aftercare, please drink water. You're probably noticing you feel quite dehydrated. If you haven't already, grab your water or your tea, get some down you. Keep drinking lots of water over the next few days. It takes about 3 to 4 days for the sound to work its way through your body, so you will notice most likely some changes, some shifts in whatever intention or whatever you were trying to release. Most likely will find its way from you in about 3 to 4 days, so be mindful of that. A few bits of admin. Obviously the technology is still not quite there, but we're working so hard to get it there. But one of the big changes is that over the next few days we're going to be shifting so that most of this stuff is going to be recorded, giving me a chance to, for a start, tighten it up and edit at either end, but it means you can access it whenever you need, not just at the times I'm playing. I will still be doing a live session every Friday night at 7. Hopefully we will have the webinar sorted by then, but if not, we know that YouTube is awesome. And the recorded sessions, which is still the 30-minute meditation, so one with gongs, one with bowls, one with a bit of everything, mostly with a bit of planet chat, are going to still be available, a new one each week, like episodes, so kind of like streaming a box set, Mondays and Wednesdays, and all of that is now definitely on the website. I know the live streaming we're still finalising, but all the actual content is also there. And the other thing that's there that I wanted to share with you, I know lots of you messaged me after these events asking about the ritual side of things, so I want to introduce you to a prototype for Rock and Ritual. So these little boxes are also going to be available from tomorrow. They probably won't have orange paper, and I promise. But they will include a beautiful homemade candle with crystals in it. So this week's candle of this month will be featuring the blue kyanite that I've been sharing with you tonight. This is a little, I'm going to lean in, little homemade incense jar. So this is the stuff I use most of the time in my shell. So this is sage, desert sage, frankincense, Palo Santo rose, and a few little other bits and pieces. We have the all-important smudge stick, white sage, which comes with a little bit of selenite, so you can astral journey. There'll also be in here the oil of the month. So the one I use tonight is the one that will be in the box this month. So that will be cedarwood, sage, and a few other bits and pieces. There'll be some little crystals, and you'll have your own little ceramic bowl that my friend Rob is making. And he's actually made these super special because these gorgeous little bowls, you can see I use them everywhere. I use them for crystals, for oils. I mostly use mine for oils actually. But I smashed one of my precious crystal bowls a few weeks ago. It was actually this one. I had to buy a new one. But the broken pieces I gave to Rob, and he's melted them all down and turned them into glaze. So all the bowls that I'm able to share with you guys in these boxes are actually glazed in melted singing bowl, which I think is pretty amazing and very unique. So this is a project which I had in mind and was planning to launch actually last month, and then with everything that happened, it all got away from me. So I'm now launching it a little bit late, and the idea is that these boxes will be available once a month in tune with the new moon. So I really should have got this out a few days ago, but it's fine, the energy prevails for a good few days. They come, like I said, this is a prototype with all the stuff in it that I've just shown you, and they will also have in it a little card that I printed in lovely gold foil, Rock and Ritual, which is going to have a list for you of all the main events for the season, so all of the lunar transitions, all of the major planetary transitions, so you can get familiar with them, get to know when things might change. You can start to plot how you feel and what's going on in your world alongside what's going on in the skies, and I personally find that really helpful. So if that's something that speaks to you, you guys are all on my newsletter. If you're not getting them, check your junk mail. I will be sending one out tomorrow, which will have the details of the boxes in, and if you would like one, please give me a shout. So that's my little sales pitch. On-demand sessions are next week. The next live is next Friday. Sliding scale applies from £0 up to £8. So same sort of thing. If you're feeling flush, awesome, £8. If you're not, fine to pay nothing. That's all on the website, and I promise on my life it's going to be working for next week. I will be sending this recording out, if not tonight, then tomorrow morning. Again, if you don't get it, check your junk or do drop me a message. I know I've been not particularly available this week because I did need a little time out, as we all are in this up and down phase. And also just time I was spending on the technology. But I generally am on email and social media messaging most of the time. Please do contact me directly rather than leaving messages in